Sports Network.
Mad Dog's upstate raised and reared up near the tater patch. He flirted with that upstate team, now bleeds garnet and black. It's been almost 2 decades since JC started Big Spur. He may live outside of Chicago, but he's all Spartanburg. It's the show, the Gamecock Show. ITG, Phil and JC, it's the show. It's fun and entertainment, but also information, things you cannot get on radio. It's the show. Gather around all you Gamecocks, it's the show. The show. Let's go. JC and Mad Dog Mully on the Gamecock Show.
Oh, welcome in, everybody. Happy lunchtime. It is Inside the Gamecocks, the show. This is Phil, Mad Dog, JC Shurburtt in with you. Just wrapped up a good morning show with JB. Hope y'all all enjoyed that. But welcome in. Grab your sandwich. We're built by the Barn Dough Co. Hopefully you're doing it with some Nana's Porch pimento cheese, though, because I was watching the commercial on that, JC, on that last one, and it was looking mighty delicious.
Mighty delicious.
That pimento cheese spot got me hungry, man. I'm ready to eat.
Oh, yeah. I had a little snack before I came on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just, you know, the end of the college football season. Weird this year. I'm always a little sad when it happens, and then dig into the NFL playoffs. But it's like, I don't know. A lot of people are saying it lasted too long this season. I don't know if that's necessarily the case right now. I just think we're not used to it. College football people are creatures of habit, as we all know. And then there was no team anybody gave a flip about down south, or for the most part, you know. There aren't a lot of hardcore Ohio State, Notre Dame people, you know, that also, you know, I mean, I don't know. So, but that was, it was a interesting game. I thought, you know, Phil, sometimes when a team gets off to a good start, like an upstart team, one of two things usually happens. Either you know right away, and it's usually fans usually have a good feel for it. You have a good feeling right away that, oh, hey, this is going to be their night. Or sometimes that team will go down and get a score, or they'll return a kickoff, or they'll hit a big play early. And then things change pretty quick, and you get kind of the reality of it. I was very concerned. I mean, not that Riley Leonard and you know, they shouldn't have been tired after a 10-minute, I guess, drive to start the dang game. You know, not that I was surprised there, but they looked beat. Like it looked like it expended a lot of energy to move the ball 3 yards, 4 yards, 3 yards, 4 yards, convert 2 fourth downs. I think there were 2. And all that good stuff. So I don't know. I kind of looked at my wife and I was like, well, I didn't say this. I was like, if they get a stop here and Ohio State goes 3 and out, or even if Ohio State as good as they are when they're playing well, and Will Howard did play well last night. I thought as good as they are, you know, you can get them, you know, 6 and out or whatever. You can still have momentum. And if you keep the ball again, you know, you're sitting there 10 minutes, 9 minutes to go in the second quarter, Phil, up 10-0 or 14-0 or something. And,
yeah,
you know, you're playing keep away essentially. That didn't happen. Notre Dame could not stop them most of the football game. It was just it was not until the end when Ohio State, I'm pretty convinced they said, all right, we got it when they got up 31-7.
Yeah.
Which is sort of why,
yeah.
That's been the way they've played the whole year. But I thought it was just one of those games where that one of these things was not like the other. And so Ohio State wins. And so the question now, and I knew I'd see this, I saw it on the Big Spur. I'm going to take a break from the conversation on Big Spur because a lot of folks that post on there, the vocal minority or the handful of fans that no coach around here is right about anything ever. They're going to sit there and complain and whine and cry about South Carolina's never going to make it. Oh my God, we better spin this. And then they're going to wrap it back in because they're upset, Phil, because, and I like that they're upset. I mean, I like the thought behind this because I appreciate people that are passionate about recruiting, but they're just worried about internet cred with their buddies that pull for other schools, complaining, that South Carolina's not, out there throwing the money around.
Right.
For players that we've well documented aren't worth it. And they're not qualified to say whether these guys are worth it or not. That decision's really up to Shane Beamer and his staff. Right. I mean, I understand, but that's what you pay him millions of dollars to do. And he's done it. And I could see it if they were consistently shooting themselves in the foot and recruiting. There's staffs that do that. They're all over college football. They make just as much money, but Beamer, through his 4 years here, I mean, I can remember, Phil, after the 2022 and 2024 cycles, people just freaked out because the team ranking went down. And they didn't pay attention to anybody. They didn't like any of the transfer portal guys because they didn't come from big schools. And again, this is not everybody out. There's a vocal minority, and it's not the folks listening to this most of the time. It's just people, knuckleheads. And I see it on social media a lot. So as bad as sometimes it is on Big Spur or elsewhere with fans just saying anything and then believe, all that good stuff. As bad as that is, Phil,
mm-hmm.
It's nothing compared to the Facebook audience. Because my job is to kind of get a pulse of what everybody, there's always room to grow your business and stuff, and
right.
Your audience is, and you're never going to know if you just ignore what they say, right? So I can't do that as much as I'd like to. And that's the deal there. It's like, you look at the comments and that's my job, and it's like, wow. I mean, there are people reacting to a fake AI article that Lenore Sellers is going to negotiate. So it was just something about Lenore Sellers. And there were people in the comments, Phil, that said it was fake. It was clearly fake.
Right.
And but 7 out of the 10 people that responded were like, well, let him go. Fine. We don't have money. All about money, isn't it, Lenore's?
Yeah, it's always the headlines. Like, and just read the headline. And
you use your real name on Facebook too. That's shocking,
right?
I mean, it's crazy when the people using their real name are a little bit more out to lunch than like big gigantic cock 1975 or whatever. That'd be. I think I'm gonna. I created a handle, big gigantic cock 1975.
Well, that's the next one to hit the rolls there.
It will be on there, dude. It will be on there. So anyway,
well, it was interesting because that was one of the things that was running through my mind last night. JC was like, oh, God, one of the fallout from this is not just here at Carolina, but plenty of other places, right? People are going to be like, well, all you got to do is get your money right, boy, and you can just buy your championship. That's the way to do it now. You just gotta throw the money out there, and that's the only way to do it. And, and you can hear all that stuff. And I feel like that's what we saw last night was a bit of an outlier, and that you can't just point to last night and say, well, all you got to do is throw money at the problem and then boom, it's fixed, right? Because there were within that group of Ohio State players, a core group of guys that had been there for a couple of years, right? That were used to playing
Yeah.
with each other, that were recruited in the traditional fashion. And while, yes, they were able to spend enough to get enough big name players in there to make a difference, you can't sustain that because there's going to be a
Well,
bust year when you spend $20 million one year. It's just not going to coalesce.
and
And your fans are going to be like, well, I'm not paying that again.
oh, it's very cyclical. I mean,
Yeah.
what A&M spent a bunch of money. I'll say this, that, keep in mind the 20 million is the entire roster.
Right.
They didn't go out and throw $20 million at Quinshon Judkins and the safety from Alabama. Jeremiah Smith was a high school recruit.
Right.
And I'm not saying he didn't get NIL money because he absolutely did. But
Right.
they got the quarterback from Kansas State. Nobody shot off fireworks when he went to Ohio State. And he was up and down until the playoff, But what they did, which was smart, they were missing some pieces, and they went out and got the very best pieces they could get. And they were all known guys. Yeah, and here's the disconnect, because Cam asked in the chat box, welcome in, brother. How do you keep people encouraged about NIL when you see your team not throwing the money out to try to catch the big fish? Not my opinion, but I've seen it and can understand it. Because there's not a big fish. There's about, in the portal, there were about two. I mean, there was no big fish they even missed on.
Right.
And that's the problem, is that in people's minds, and look, I'm with you guys. It's been an adjustment for me. It's very hard to sit there and go, oh man, that guy was really good out of high school, and oh goodness, and he's a 5-star. Really hard to sit there and look and go, oh man, just take people's word for it. But football changes. Your top players. This is why I hate early rankings. I think it's awful. I know why they do it. I understand why they do it. But in this sport, and look, man, when I started out, we didn't rank them till June before their senior year. We had a watch list, and then we went to a whole spring of camps across the country. Back then, you didn't have Huddle or film readily available on the internet, so you're going on trips, collecting film, seeing guys in person. Still, your data is probably a little incomplete, about 70%. So I get that, and I know that now you can scroll through Huddle and look at players and come up with a ranking, and some of those guys are going to be heavily recruited guys, and you can do it their sophomore year and you'll be fine. The problem is when you do it that early, the mindset is nobody wants to be wrong. So rarely move a guy down, right? Especially from 4 to 3 stars, which is not some magical border. It's not some magical it's just not some line of demarcation where everybody below this line's a loser and everybody above this line is awesome. Yeah, it's not. It's nice to see. So anyway, so it gets kind of hard for players that actually are the best players to move up. I'm not saying that's always the case. In fact, I think ranking the 5-star players in the top of the cream of the crop has become a lot easier. And it's become a lot more, better, a lot better, a lot more better, mo better rankings,
A lot more better rankings.
Maurice. So I think, but anyway, that's a rankings discussion, and I'm not answering Cam's question, so I'll get back to that, Phil. But what it is we're used to looking and attaching recruiting excellence one way, and the portal is not that way. And other schools, I'm not going to say other schools. Some schools do a good job of taking advantage of the portal hype and encouraging their fan base. And that's kind of what they do. Most of those schools, most of them are programs that rely on the portal quite a bit. I mean, I'll mention Miami as one. Ole Miss is kind of the king of it. There's a reason they call him the portal king. That's their recruiting every year, basically. And they signed some good high school players this year. Caleb Cunningham's a really good player. But Lane Kiffin's made the decision. They're going to be that's going to be their lifeblood, the transfer portal. And they win. They've raised their program, the visibility that way. South Carolina's sort of a hybrid. They're probably not going and getting 25 portal guys every year. Sometimes they will. But and then it happens over time. And it's a situation where, you have some years, these big name guys that get in that are actually legit. This year, there are a lot more players in the portal. I felt it was kind of more of a broad overall class. And you can look at like the rankings aren't accurate in the sense that, Phil, this is the number 15 guy and he sucks compared to the number 5 guy. That's just not even those aren't even close right now.
Right.
But what I use them for is like, okay, so who got in that's a relatively big name and can they play? And you look and you're like, I mean, Carson Beck shoots up to the number 1 spot in the overall portal period, and it's probably consensus. And I'm like, did you watch him play this year? I mean, it's like,
where does that number come from?
It's like Mike Leach says, that was last bleeping year.
No.
That rest his soul. That was last year. You didn't make that play. Michael Crabtree made that play. That was last year. So based on this wealth of evidence, oh God, I miss that guy. It's too. We can't play it on the show. We get canceled quickly.
Yeah. Could we make it?
No, you can't even bleep it. It's so profane.
It is laden with it, isn't it? That one.
We'd be better off getting an old Richard Pryor stand up and trying to get through that, Phil, than that one.
Here's 5 minutes of Eddie Murphy.
So what's happening is I don't think any of us are like used to this. And you look and you like, all right, I'll give you an example. Berrien Brown from Kentucky. He goes to LSU. All right. Really good player as a freshman. Couldn't catch a cold at times. Explosive, though. Great in the return game. Good player. Hey, LSU could use him. I'm not saying South Carolina couldn't use him. But is that a guy that's going to come in and change their fortunes next year? No. And I say this to tell you this. Quarterback recruiting in the portal and overall is a totally different animal. I think you absolutely have to have a guy you can get excited about. But even I'll stick with the Kentucky theme here. They were pretty fired up about Will Levis. And I know he's in the NFL and they had one good year. Okay. And then they got the kid was Devin Leary from NC State who threw for 1,000,000 yards, who was on all ACC teams, had a down year at State, goes to Kentucky. Were they that good? No. Then they had Mr. 5-star Brock Vandergrift, and people were talking him up.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he was just at Georgia, man. He was just at Georgia and just behind great players.
Yeah, that's right. Just couldn't get to playing time. Yeah.
He just quit football after this. I'm going to go out on a limb. Okay, so Devin Leary. Is it Devin Leary?
I think it is. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I've been messing up names lately. I tweeted today that Urban Meyer coached at LSU when I went to say Ed Orgeron. I was like, how on earth do I not write Coach O and write Urban Meyer? I mean, come on, JC. God, it's like my favorite coach of all time.
You got Columbus on the brain.
I know it's been weird. I'm worried about myself, but anyway. So I'll be willing to bet this Zach Calladania guy. I think it's his name. He was the quarterback as a redshirt freshman at A&M when Jim was there. Calzada.
Isn't that it? Yeah.
Calladania. Where the hell did I get that? Calzada. Calladania is like an island country. Come to Calladania.
Yes, that's right.
All inclusive. Find your discovery at Calladania. All inclusive resorts. But Calzada. I will be willing to bet you, Phil, that he is better next year. This guy that everybody's like, that he is better than Vandegrift and Leary. And maybe more, I'm not going to say more productive than Will Levis because Will Levis is in the NFL, but I guarantee you their quarterback situation, as long as he's healthy, will be better than Vandegrift. And nobody's talking about it. There was so much more hype with Vandegrift.
Right.
And so that's what I'm saying now. And I get it. Look, I don't think South Carolina's in any position right now to say, let's go do what Ohio State did. Because they weren't going to do what Ohio State did, even if they were willing to spend $15 million on 3 players. Because that's essentially what Ohio State got. Even the Gamecocks are going to go pay them $5 million each. Number one, you pay them that much, they're going to come in and miss workouts, drive Porsches. They'll be in Charleston most of the time. I mean, right. These are still college kids, right? So there's a limit. But even if you had like much, we were willing to go the extra mile, it's still picking a college. And it's just like, the quarterback said last night, Will Howard, before the game. And that also made me pull against Ohio State because I'm like, what about K-State where you were? What's wrong with Kansas State? Maybe if you just, I don't know. But I came here to cement my legacy. And I'm like, yeah, you're kind of a selfish prick.
Yeah, right. I didn't like that because it was like me. Look at me.
Yeah, and
I'm like, yeah,
you're not really that good. The guy that you replaced is better.
Yeah,
and we'll see it. I mean, it's all going to come out in the NFL. And actually, they probably wouldn't have lost the games they lost if Kyle McCord was there, because Kyle McCord got better between Ohio State and Syracuse. They just forced him out. Because everybody's mad because we lost to Michigan and they won the whole thing, and we're just going to get mad and go buy one. Call up Dave Thomas's daughter and get that $1 million he owes us.
That's right.
I freaking hate Frosties. Anyway, and so that's the deal there. So I think there needs to be some perspective, and I also remind everybody too, Ohio State's always had a lot of great players.
Right.
I mean, in 2023 or 2022, the second Georgia national championship, the one that won 65-7, and nobody came within. I think Missouri came within 7 on a bad day, and I don't think anybody else was close, Phil. And they actually they actually played LSU in the championship game, blew them out. That game against Ohio State was 42-41. It ended at the stroke of midnight. A quarterback named CJ Stroud was playing for the Buckeyes, and Ohio State snuck in the playoffs that year. They were the 4th seed. Remember, because Michigan played TCU and got upset. So, I mean, they've been good for a while, and I'll say this too. They've lost, and the team they've had trouble with is a team that is one of the best programs in the history of the college football, but they do it a lot differently at Michigan. They did under Harbaugh. Whatever the Oracle ladies pays Bryce Underwood is something we shall have to see how it works out. But Michigan did it by developing players, running the football, being the more physical team. There's nothing fancy about what they did. And they beat them that way this year. This year was a little flukish. It's probably the best thing to happen to Ohio State, though, because they didn't kind of put it in. They didn't gear down in the playoffs all that often.
Yeah, talk about timely from a loss perspective.
Yeah, but I think that, just because there are folks out there that have a philosophy that, it's important. It's important to be hyped, right, with the portal, because that's basically your argument you're making. I have the opinion that it's important to sign good players. I know for a fact in football that where you come from the portal isn't the tell. It's can you play? How good can you be? This is not the it really kind of chapped me as people were talking about bargain hunting and stuff. Nobody's bargain hunting. They identify the players they like. They decide who they're going to go after. You can't recruit the entire portal. It's like eating an elephant. They evaluate the film. They go after it. And they have a value, and they have everybody based on that valuation. They kind of know where they fit financially, and give or take a few, and they go and sign their share and get good. And they've gotten good players. And they're, beware of turning down the player from the lower school just because he's from a lower school. If South Carolina had done that during the Beamer era, I don't even know that he would be the coach here.
Right.
Because a lot of good players would have not come. And so that's what you got to keep in mind. And, with guys that you miss on, I'd be much more concerned if an in-state high school recruit, which could happen at any point, especially with this 2026 class, because players are getting recruited by others. There's a lot more foot traffic. Schools like Georgia are coming in trying to pick off guys. That's much more of something to go, oh, man, that's not good, than some guy that you think can be good, because it's – and I get it. Everybody plays fantasy football these days, and you want to look at the numbers and plug it in. And I get it. No, that's fun. I'm not coming down on you or saying you're dumb. I'm just saying it may be a reason to be disappointed, but it's not a reason to be overly critical, like using terms like bargain hunting. I mean, that's insulting to the players, right? Oh, they got him off the bargain bin. Wow. This guy's about to go be a millionaire playing the sport of football.
Right.
There's no bargain bin. And that's one thing in all of their arrogance that the NFL scouting people do. They could care less. If they find a player at a lower level school, they could care how fast are you? How well do you run? How productive are you? What kind of person are you? And even they miss, don't get me wrong, but nobody, they don't care. I mean, and I think that's kind of more the way you got to look at the portal, as far as who's good and who's not. Another thing you can't look at in the portal, in my opinion, I think you could look at it from the standpoint of if you go head to head with a team and you beat a team on a player that they want, that's a nice win against that team. But, it used to be like Dylan Stewart. A good talking point for him is Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, and Miami. I don't count them as the better evaluating teams in the country, but Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia wanted him badly, right? There's South Carolina, and they beat everybody on him. And look at how good I think that's a good talking point there for him, as far as high school guys. It doesn't matter and apply across the board, but, that kind of thing, that does matter a little bit. But, you're in the portal, people who else has offered him? It doesn't matter. Who else? It doesn't matter. If they go head to head with a school that's got good resources and is a blue blood or whatever, it's a nice win. But it doesn't mean a hill of beans as far as how good the player is going to be. Right. And so that's the thing I'd like to encourage everybody with the transfer portal. Go get good players. That's it. That's the mandate, Phil. Go get good players.
There's a finite number of like top tier talent in the portal, right? And then below that, it not necessarily the player itself, but whether or not it fits the team scheme is either right, thing.
It depends on top tier. Like there's a top tier. Right. Sometimes there's only in the portal, there's only a handful of guys up there. Sometimes there's 25, 30 guys. Right. That's that top tier. You can call them the 5 stars or whatever. Yeah. And then there's a swath of everybody else who are all pretty good. Yeah. Most of them are pretty good players with experience. And then the teams that are going to win the portal are going to be the ones that can identify and land who out of that giant swath where everybody's kind of equal is a differentiator. So, all right, I know we got to take a break. Inside the Gamecocks show rolls on. We'll catch up on the Nana Sports chat box. Thanks for your question, Cam. I spent 30 minutes answering it, but don't mind. Back after these messages.
Hey, this is Cornbread Cowboy, and you're listening to the show. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Joel Lurie. If you're turning 65 this year or retiring soon, you probably have questions about Medicare. How do I enroll in Medicare? When do I need to enroll? And what plan fits my needs and budget?
Why use an out-of-state call center when you can work with a local agency?
At Lurie Life and Health, we'll research your doctors and prescription drugs, and we'll help you find the plan that meets your needs and budget.
Lurie Life and Health. Our service is at no cost. Call Lurie Life and Health in Columbia, 803-256-2067.
The Aventon Adventure 2 takes the same basic design as the original Aventon Adventure, making it an adventure bike designed to take you places that typical roads just don't reach, allowing you to ride whatever terrain you want based on your whims of the day. Look at what you're getting. Hydraulic disc brakes, torque sensor for responsive pedal assist, great LED lighting, suspension, a beautifully welded frame with excellent build quality, included rear rack, included fenders. The list just keeps going on.
Visit electricbikescharleston.com for more. Welcome to Palm Casual Patio Furniture. Because we are the factory, Palm Casual has the ability to offer the highest quality outdoor furniture paired with world-class service. Since 1979, our factory showrooms have done our best to make the buying process as easy as possible for our customers. Our understanding of the many factors that go into your decision has helped us create our 30-day trial period that increases the level of comfort our customers feel during the shopping experience. Visit us in Somerville, Mount Pleasant, Myrtle Beach, and Bluffton, and online at palmcasual.com for our products and out-of-state locations. Go Gamecocks! Welcome home. That's what the Gamecocks say, and so does nationally recognized the Barndominium Company, where they are building dream homes in the Carolinas, Georgia, and Tennessee. Their turnkey process can be custom designed and takes 6 months on average. Make your dream a reality. Visit thebarndominiumco.com, thebarndominiumco.com.
All right, welcome back, everybody, inside the Gamecocks, the show. JC Shurburtt and Phil Mullinax in with you, taking your chat box questions, requests, comments, having a good discussion about recruiting here and the effects of the transfer portal after the display that we saw in Ohio State winning the prettiest record invitational last night. So
the prettiest record. I'll tell you this, though, Phil. Even if they'd have picked the playoff the right way, I think Ohio State still wins. If they,
I think so too. That. I think the result ended up being, the same. But the way we got here was just frustrating.
Let's hope this doesn't lead to everybody believing, oh, they're just geniuses. How they did this playoff. It's really genius.
No.
Let's just go ahead and put SMU in the playoff at the beginning of the year next year.
That's right. We're going to precede the playoff.
Somebody called Jim Phillips and tell him SMU's already in. Yeah. We're going to let you do the 2 versus 3 in Charlotte, but only if the team that automatically gets into SMU because Ward Manuel loves them so much.
That's right. SMU. Stanford's got to rotate through every once in a while just to make us remember that they used to be good at football. And then he's going to have to hand select the 2 to play in Charlotte between Miami, Florida State, and Clemson.
I think what they should do is just have a hat dance, or play a game of Red Rover, and whoever wins that.
You could do it like Squid Game and have to do red light, green light, the head coach version.
Yeah. Who would win that in the ACC? Dabo runs pretty fast.
Dabo, he's got practice.
I've never timed him sprinting down the hill, but he's trucking.
He's always out front, man. He's got the conditioning for it.
Jacob says, I don't mean to be Gen Z. We forgive you, Jacob.
Yeah, it's okay.
I don't know what to think about Gen Z. I think kind of like when I'm talking about fans and maybe a little frustrated with some of them. I think it's a front and center social media online minority because a lot of it, like my kids, like them and their friends are like much more normal than millennials, in my opinion.
I've got a Z and I guess what we're referring to now as an
or
alpha
whatever.
in my home, and I can now one thing I can confirm is that these alphas, they're feral. This is a wild bunch.
Wow.
but my Gen Z kid seems to be reasonably well adjusted and adapted. So yeah,
I think it just scares the crap out of most of us because if you scroll through TikTok, and I'm not going to talk about TikTok today, I'm actually not sad to see it go though because I could never figure out how to make it work for the social media for the show and stuff. I was like, oh my God. I mean, you log on, it just shows you a video, whether you like it or not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sometimes it's like the Chief Sports TikTok, and I'm like, this is Chief Sports. What made you think I wanted to see this woman's gigantic hooters while she rides a unicycle?
Hey, that's talent.
And has a mustache.
Right. That's where it gets weird.
I'm like, I've never, I mean, I can get as weird as the next guy, right?
Yeah, right.
But that ain't on my menu of weird.
No. Mm-mm.
It never has.
See, my algorithm there got destroyed because my wife would keep sending me recipes. So now all it feeds me is like, here, cook this. Here, cook this. Here, cook this.
Wow.
Like, well, this is entertaining.
Well, the wife, I mean, that's probably smart of your wife. Very smart of her.
That's true. It keeps it.
What I'm going to do, I can hear her now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take Kill's TikTok and mess with his algorithm so he's cooking food.
Yeah.
I bet I'll have that conversation.
Yeah, it was.
So anyway, welcome in, Mark.
Mark and
Wico. We love having you there, believe.
Yeah, man.
Believe. Anyway, Cam says Justice Haynes. He brought that up. I'll tell you what happened with Justice Haynes. He wanted to go to Michigan. I know Brad put out some kind of bidding, like the NIL was bigger, so he went to Michigan. I don't know who told Brad that, but it wasn't like it was crazy stupid money. And
where was he from, JC? Just
he's from Atlanta. His dad played for the Steelers. Michigan is a team that's going to give him the football a lot. His issue at Alabama was he didn't get the football enough. From the start, some of our guys at 24/7 Sports felt like that was kind of what they were hearing was going to Michigan. He had some connections there. I credit Carolina for going all in on him. I'll tell you this. Had they gotten him, you would have heard me say this. I would have not said he was the starting running back next year. Big difference in getting him and getting a healthy Rocket Sanders.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Rocket Sanders rushed for like 1,400 yards in the SEC. And was really good.
Yeah, right.
And there's not a lot of players like him because he's 230 pounds and can run and catch. He was a receiver out of high school.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that guy's a freak. Low 4-star guy. Oh, and I read this too the other day. They were talking about Clemson's receivers, and somebody was mentioning that Wesco and Moore, who are really good players, were why can't South Carolina's freshman receivers next year? Because they have a lot of good ones, be good. Well, they were borderline 5 stars, but I believe that one of the Gamecocks low 4 stars, somebody will step up. I'm like, we don't pay attention to history around here. Some of us don't.
No.
How many receivers, especially in the state of South Carolina, have played well as freshmen that weren't borderline 5s? And then if you start talking about Jordan Gidron and Donovan Murph, those guys reclassified, and I guess you still get punished for that. Had they stayed with the 2026 class, they probably, especially Murph and Gidron even too, if he's healthy, my guess is Murph is competing for 5-star status just based on natural progression, and Gidron is a clear-cut top 100 guy. Now I'm speculating, but that's what rankings are, is speculation.
Right.
And I'm saying that, and I'm not sitting here predicting 2 of these guys will be just as good as those guys. No, those guys are dudes. Credit Clemson for going and getting them, because their receiving core, I mean, they're like probably looking around going, man, we need some help around here, And so they went to Texas and plucked Wesco, and then went to their safe space, the west coast of Florida, and got TJ Moore. And they were great players. Tip your hat to them. That doesn't have, it just because they were ranked the high does not mean that these guys are higher, does not mean that these cats can't be good for the Gamecocks next year. They may not need to be as good as Wesco and Moore. But that's what happened with Justice Haynes. And Cam says, appreciate you bringing this poop down for us. Yeah, I mean, look, it's just going to take time for all of us. I get it. Trust me, man. It's better for me. It'd be better for me if everybody knew every player and was excited about every player and all that kind of stuff. So I'm happy. I'll be happy for that. Bruin says, I like recruiting guys, developing them, paying them to stay, and then going out and getting 2 or 3 top guys and pay them to take that next step. South Carolina didn't have the luxury, though, Bruin, right now. And it's because of some early classes. A lot of times it's back to the old standard. Your head coach, the reason nobody's won more than 7 games at South Carolina in year 4 ever until this year is because normally you go to a place, there's a reason the previous coach leaves. You inherit players from their best recruiting class. You don't have the mass exodus most of the time. And this is before the transfer portal. And so you get some of their players and you're pretty good. Brad Scott, best season was his first season. Mostly Sparky's players back in the day. Right. Sometimes it's like even Lou Holtz, who went 0-11 in his first year. That second year, a lot of Brad Scott's players on that team that he recruited. And then Lou in year 4 or 5 cycled back down because the first couple of classes, even Lou mentioned this, those classes aren't very good. We need to leave it in good shape, as later on as he went forward. So that's and I think it happened a little bit to Beamer. And if you look around, it happened to a lot of teams for that class of 2022. Texas A&M, it happened to them, and everybody was giving them the national championship. I think Texas A&M, Phil, even had a national championship trophy replica made up with their logo on it after they signed that recruiting class, which Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy was a part of. And we all hope that Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy is just a late bloomer because Carolina is going to need him next year. But they signed all those guys and went, 5-7? And some of them were Jimbo said they never paid anything. Some of them were so handsomely paid they thought they could just light up in the locker room or whatever. I mean, it was terrible.
You get to a certain point where it's just like, well, I'm making all this money anyway, so I know I'm good. I'm entitled to be able to act like I want. And entitlement will definitely destroy culture in a heartbeat. And we saw how rapidly that declined.
You have to balance entitlement to culture. And that's probably one of the other reasons Ohio State spent that much money, because they had to keep everybody happy if they're going to go out and pluck players. Right.
Right.
I mean, so I totally get it. And Craig says bringing in high dollar guys, not great with your locker room. If they're locker room, if there are too many of them. Yeah, but there's high dollar guys. It's the new. All right, so what you got to look out for, and the calculation with Beamer is this: if this guy's going to demand this much money, how much better will he be than the players we've got to justify that kind of discrepancy? Or how big is the need to where you just have to overpay? You're not going to have a player. You're going to be counting on people you can't count on. That's the calculation. And that should make everybody feel good. And Beamer was on the morning show yesterday and seems to be encouraged by a lot of players that are already on the roster. And y'all should be too. I mean, it's great. It's exciting when you go get a Rocket Sanders, right? Or Spencer Rattler out of the portal and stuff. It'd be exciting if you go get Jeremiah Smith or Ryan Williams at receiver, or, even the Dane Key would have been exciting, because that's a guy we all know. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're dramatically superior to what you have on campus, because that doesn't work out at any school that way most of the time. So that's something to keep in mind as well. So that's what the calculation is. Most schools are doing that. This year has been a little bit more of a Wild West because some programs, I think, have made, and the collectives there have made the determination that they believe they can, they believe this money they have with the collectives is not going to be needed, which I don't know if they're right about that or not.
Yeah.
So they can go ahead and pay everything up through July, get it, swipe, corral everybody, and then hand it over to rev share. And then for this one kind of gap year, Phil, you could pay through the nose. Carolina's not going to do that because they have so many guys coming back and a good nucleus of players. And I'm talking on the roster. I know some positions they lost a lot too.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing can poison. I mean, it would not work. I'll tell you this right now. South Carolina goes and does that, and you're paying Casey Concepcion out the butt, and you got these 6 freshmen here. 2 of them could be better than him. You got the 4 guys coming back, that could make us. There's a human element to it that nobody's talking about. And yes, Ohio State won a national championship and had a well-paid roster, but it's not like the core of that team wasn't recruited,
right?
The normal way,
the traditional
and then
manner. On
top of that, a chunk of them are from Ohio. They have the luxury of being in a top 5 state, and they love Ohio State. That didn't matter when they sleptwalk through the game with Michigan, and that's what you get sometimes, I think, when you pay a college team through the nose. They were very fortunate to even get to the playoff. It could have been one of the biggest what might have beens in sports.
Mm-hmm. With a different committee, there is no guarantee that team gets in.
Yeah, and they should have lost to Nebraska. And I'm not going to mention the fact Marcus Satterfield screwed a drive up inside the 5 again. But they lost 21-17. Nebraska should have beaten them, right?
Right.
If they lost to that and then failed against Michigan at the end, and they're 9-3, and Ryan Day's probably getting fired. I don't know who they go hire. Luke Fickell. I don't know who they go get, but he's probably getting fired. Okay, and probably would have gotten fired if he not won the national title. I think once it got past. Who'd they play? The Oregon game, he was probably safe at the Rose Bowl. Once they beat the crap out of Oregon in the Rose Bowl. I mean, look at Oregon. They claimed they had unlimited NIL money.
Right. Yeah, you got Nike. Yeah, I mean,
by the time they played the best team on their schedule by a mile for a second time, they got their butts kicked,
Right.
They got their asses handed to them. Well, what good did all that money do them? By the way, I saw a ranking the other day, and I don't, we've had Darren Usher on as a guest when the old format of the show, and he obviously worked for Dan Lanning and has a lot of respect for him, and I do too. I like the guy. I think he's a good coach. Somebody had him ranked as the 3rd best coach in the country or something, a CBS or something. And I'm like, again, he has not done anything Mario Cristobal hadn't done. I mean, I guess a Big 12 championship, but didn't they win the Pac-12 or Big 10 championship? I mean,
yeah.
I guarantee you that they played Ohio State in the Big 10 championship game, they'd have probably gotten cut.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You got lucky in that one. If you're
and that's the thing. Scheduling has outside of Ohio State winning it all, Phil. Scheduling and seeding are the 2 S words, right? which leads to a third S word to describe the whole process of that, which I will not repeat. That's determined a lot in college football this year, in my opinion.
Right.
So I don't know. Yeah, third in the country anyway. But Ohio State deserved it, and outside of that, though, all the other teams that sort of made it far, they obviously got the right matchups. I mean, Notre Dame was legit beating Georgia. I mean, and that's just because not a lot of teams have beaten the Dogs outside of Alabama.
Right.
Nobody's
less
really
than a handful in 2 years, right? Yeah.
Alabama, Ole Miss got them this year, but that was about it. Speaking of Brad Crawford, I don't know if I mentioned Brad Crawford's name or not. I may just said Brad Crawford from 24/7 Sports. Nice tweet he was on the ground for the national championship game. I did mention him because he had said something about the getting outbid for Justice Haynes or whatever. He was in Atlanta and I guess was asking Ohio State folks, sources about Aaron Nolan, and they said kind of shook their head, won and got away. So there you go.
Yeah, take that.
I don't ever think it's a bad deal if you think about the quarterbacks that have left Ohio State, Phil. Of course, there's the infamous Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow won the whole thing for us. And he's a pretty good NFL quarterback too.
Yeah, he's done well.
I like Burrow. Great player, but he got beat out by the late Dwayne Haskins. I think it was Dwayne Haskins that beat him out. Or was it Justin Fields? No, it was Haskins.
Yeah. Was it?
Or no, it was Fields.
Fields.
It was, was it Fields?
Not Fields.
It was, all right, Fields and Trevor Lawrence were in the same class. So that was 2018.
17? Okay, 18. Okay.
It's the 18 class. Fields was at Georgia in 18, and then Ohio State at 19. Was he the starter? I don't know. Somebody help me. Help me, please. Anyway, he gets beat out and he leaves. And the rest is history. The guy Ohio State had quarterback problems. I mentioned Kyle McCord earlier. This guy did not necessarily he didn't go to Ohio State, but he's from Ohio and certainly would have. But Urban Meyer took a quarterback out of Texas, and Mitch Trubisky ended up at North Carolina and was the number one pick in the draft. Now, we can debate as to whether or not that was a smart pick by the Bears or not, but he was Mitch Trubisky. So I don't know, man. I think that's pretty. It's not bad to take a player that maybe has left Ohio State,
right?
Because they tend to pan out, and their philosophy is it'd be great if Carolina got that to this point. Like if they got Jared Curtis or Brady Smeagol, and they're just stacking quarterbacks, and I think everybody would. But another thing everybody's got to get used to, though, you'd have to get used to players leaving, because you start stacking them like that, not everybody's going to stay. But
and it was Fields in 19 was the starter at Ohio
Fields got
State.
the job, and Burrow
Haskins.
Burrow went, well, wait a minute though. Nah, but Haskins beat Burrow out. My fault, because Burrow was at LSU
for a year before he started. Or no, for two.
He was a 2
years.
Yeah,
That's
he started
right.
at 18 because I'm sitting there watching. Yeah, and he wasn't. He kind of started coming on. They played UCF in a bowl, and it wasn't the national. It was the Fiesta Bowl. UCF was really good. One of the Frost teams, and everybody's talking about how they were going to beat LSU. They're going to beat LSU, and LSU socked them in the face. And Burrow took a big hit during the game, and then they said he got back up and started playing really well. But that was 18. So he lost out to Haskins, who unfortunately I believe has passed away. He was hit by a car in Miami. Tragic deal. I think I saw Dwayne Haskins in high school. Very strong arm. Phil, can you fact check the Dwayne Haskins thing for me? I don't want to say somebody died if I'm getting them mixed up.
Yeah, Dwayne Haskins passed in 22, I think it was.
Yeah, it's Miami. It was down there.
Fort Lauderdale. Yep. Mm-hmm.
But so he went down there and did it. He wasn't that good, and then he turned it around. And then that next year they brought in Joe Brady and they had all those receivers back, and they opened it up wide open, and that was a great LSU football team. I'm going to tell you that right now. So, but so Brad's hearing some good things about Aaron Nolan. I'm looking forward to seeing him play in the spring game and watching his progress, because, it's kind of a catch-22, because, if you're a fan out there, you're like, well, I would love to see Sellers play for 2 more years. But if Lenore Sellers only plays for 1 more year, that's usually going to mean that he's going to the NFL and good enough to do so, which will mean he's had a really, really good season, which will mean South Carolina will have won a lot of games.
Right. So
I don't know.
That's great.
I think if he's really good and gets in the Heisman race, which, by the way, I know you talked about on the morning show, but
opened up 16-1 odds.
16-1. Cade Klubnik's 9-1 or 12-1. Arch Manning. I don't know, brother. Arch Manning.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what do you think about that? Him leading the Heisman odds? I get it, but yeah.
I think he's a really good football player.
Right.
I think he's better than Quinn Ewers. I think I mentioned this on Coffee this morning or somewhere.
Well, that was my thing when Ewers said he was leaving. I was like, well, it's because Manning is inevitable next year. So, but I didn't think he'd go to the draft. That was my whole thing. Like, I don't know about the draft, but Arch Manning is inevitable at Texas for 2025. So he had to go somewhere.
Inevitable.
Yes.
What's that thing on the marble?
What is
I am inevitable.
That's the Thanos,
evil.
right?
Thanos, yeah.
Thanos. Mm-hmm.
Josh Brolin plays Thanos. I am inevitable. All right. Next hour is inevitable. The show will be back.
We got started in 1979. Because we're a manufacturer, we're able to control our costs. That's why we like to manufacture as much of the product as we can, because in our factory stores we can offer a competitive edge over other people around the country. When people come into one of our Palm Casuals, it's like they're buying their car at Detroit. They're going right to the factory and buying their car.
30-day money-back guarantee. That's a big deal with us. I mean, we give 30 days to do anything. I mean, return it, change it, get a different color, get your money back.
When you pull into a store and it says Palm Casual, you know you're at a factory store.
Charleston Fitness Equipment is keeping South Carolina in shape. Clients have come from all over the Palmetto State to find that one piece of equipment that they enjoy that keeps them looking and feeling good. Whether it's a home rower, treadmill, elliptical, free weights, a home gym, or something else, Charleston Fitness Equipment keeps the mirror smiling back at you. Get in shape like the Gamecocks do. Visit charlestonfitnessequipment.com. Gamecock owned and operated and proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
What Right to Bear is we're an association of members across the entire country, and what we offer is we offer legal defense in the event of a self-defense case. Nice. So it's not insurance. So we offer an attorney in the event that one of our members might have some type of an accident. ProtectWithBear.com. We've got all of our social media accounts on the bottom of our website. We've got blogs, articles, detailed description of all of the coverages in depth, and we'd love to have you come check us out and ultimately get the protection you need.
Hi, I'm Joel Lurie. If you're turning 65 this year or retiring soon, you probably have questions about Medicare. How do I enroll in Medicare? When do I need to enroll? And what plan fits my needs and budget?
Why use an out-of-state call center when you can work with a local agency?
At Lurie Life and Health, we'll research your doctors and prescription drugs, and we'll help you find the plan that meets your needs and budget.
Lurie Life and Health. Our service is at no cost. Call Lurie Life and Health in Columbia, 803-256-2067.
One brand. Two shows. The morning show. Weekdays from 10 a.m. until noon. And the show from noon until 2 p.m.
Gamecocks.
Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2 of Inside the Gamecocks, the show, live with JC and Phil in with you, continuing the conversation about the national championship game last night, the effects of the transfer portal and recruiting, rolling right along. Hated it for Nat last night, JC. I was just sitting there like, I'm wondering when did you turn the TV off? When did it come back on? How tense was it at home last night? Oh, you're muted.
I see she made her way into the chat box.
Yeah, I see. That's what kind of prompted me. I was like, oh, yeah, I was thinking about you last night, Nat.
She wasn't happy. I mean, well, I felt bad. I mean, it was kind of sad. You know, I don't know. It was just very sad about it.
Yeah.
You know, she knows how. I mean, you know, there's a funeral that takes place around here every time the Gamecocks lose a game. You know, in football especially. But I don't know. It's kind of an eye opener for me last night. I felt horrible about the outcome of that, how that game went. And it was really only because of the person laying next to me. 100%. I mean, seriously,
that's it.
I'm a very empathetic person as it is, but I was just like, I felt it made me feel horrible. So anyway, and the wife turns in and says, Freeman turned out not to be the twerp I thought he was.
He's grown on me. I like Marcus Freeman.
It did a good job. And the only thing I really didn't like about him was losing to Marshall and Northern Illinois at home. And, you know, you shouldn't do that if you're the Notre Dame coach. I mean, they don't play anybody or hardly anybody anyway. But never had, I guess, a lot of dislike for him. I just didn't know that he was very good. But sometimes bad things have to happen to facilitate good things. Losing to Northern Illinois is a very bad thing. And this group got it together and obviously had a nice run. But it was tough. The Queen of the Cocks points out Aaron Nolan sitting behind Will Howard and Lenore Sellers with Shula at the helm to develop him will be massive. Yeah, I think he's got a chance. I don't want to take a chance. I don't want to see what he looks like next year, obviously, because I hope Lenore is the guy and doesn't have to come out. But I think for the future, heck, that's just like signing him out of high school. He was only at Ohio State a year, so it's just like going into Georgia and beating the whole country on the guy. So. Mm-hmm. I'll take it. I'll allow it, Phil.
I'll
allow it. The Queen of the Cock says, JC, take the missus to a rage room. Do they have those, Phil? What is that?
Yeah, so it's like you can go to these places because Dina's been to one and sometimes you can bring your own stuff to break, and other times you can just pay extra and they've got stuff to break. And you go in there and you walk into these little rooms and you take a baseball bat or sledgehammer or whatever and just smash the hell out of everything in the room to just relieve that tension, you know. Like, it's not a bad idea.
I think it works for some people. I don't think I've ever gotten that upset because it's usually like in a moment, you know, like we have this door. It's a point. I call it the pointless door. It's this big glass automatically closing screen door on the freaking front door for whatever reason. And I'm not fast enough these days to make it in the house at warp speed. So it always closes on me and it gets cold here. And so the metal is ice cold. And sometimes it catches like my cheek or my hand. I mean, that doesn't feel good.
Right.
And it's a demon from hell, and I hate it. So there's days I almost want to kick the crap out of it, break it off the damn door hinge.
But you don't do that. See,
I get over it.
You can't do it. Right.
I get over it.
You
and
just move on.
I can't imagine getting in the car and getting in the dang truck and rolling and be like, I hate that damn door so much. Now I'm going to take this old microwave and beat the shit out of it.
That's right.
Till it's glass shards. That's me, though. And I'm not, I mean, obviously, I'm not like everybody else. So,
but now there's a couple of them close to the house. So the next time y'all are down here, we'll,
go to the rage room.
We'll make sure. Yeah. I was like, we'll send Dina and Nat over to the rage room, and then we can, drink beer and do whatever.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah.
Y'all go to the rage room. We're going to sit here and at Hooters. Assuming Hooters is, what's my like? Did Hooters kill Twin Peaks? Is that it?
No, they both are still open and active here in Greenville.
No. I'm talking about the talent. I have a full.
The talent.
The theory.
No. All right, fans killed the talent. There.
Yeah. Well, no. It's an ecosystem, Phil.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
OnlyFans killed the strip club. Took from the strip club. So the strip club took from Hooters. Hooters took from Twin Peaks. Twin Peaks took from the Waffle House.
Oh.
The Queen of the Cock says Twin Peaks is better than Hooters. It's all the same. I don't know. I know the beer's colder at Twin Peaks because they advertise it.
Yeah, that is true. That is one of their claims to fame.
Gosh, last time I was I've
never been to Twin Peaks.
I went to the one in
I hear the nachos are good.
But yeah, good food. They have a pot roast sandwich, or they did. I used to go to the one in Nashville quite a bit because it was right near my house. But the one in Columbia and the Vista, I moseyed in there after the Georgia. I was in town, Georgia South Carolina game in 2023 in Athens because I'd gone and watched it at my buddy's house up in Irmo, and I came back downtown and stopped by there for a beer and watched Alabama struggle with South Florida and some other interesting games. I think Tennessee lost to Florida that night too. It was crowded. It was fine. But anyway, that's my little philosophy there. But yeah, they can go beat appliances and we can roll someplace. So Tiffany says, what's up? They needed me at work today. I hope Nat is okay after last night. I was rooting for Notre Dame. She's fine. I was sad though. She was like, it was like legit hurt. I mean, she's been came over here when she was 4 from Thailand, and her and her dad grew up watching Notre Dame football on the TV. He's actually, to be someone from Thailand that's a physicist, the man understands American football like you wouldn't understand. And I think it's because he, like I could never coach and be an offensive coordinator because I have trouble. Like I hate IKEA because I can't put anything together because the concept of the spacing and the instructions and stuff my brain doesn't work that way.
Right.
I don't think in 3D, so I probably couldn't call plays. I can look at it and say, well, this didn't work against this just because but I'm flying blind. I could never coach. I wouldn't see it. It'd be like someone that's colorblind. They don't let people that are colorblind fly planes because you can't distinguish. I mean, I'm handicapped in that way, literally. But he's a physicist and a brain and can think that way.
And he gets it right. Yeah.
And so, yeah. And there's a language barrier, but one day we're just sitting there talking about pro football because he watched a lot of pros too. He's like, I think, they don't go in. It's a slant or they just go, and talk about the passing game. I started thinking, and I'm like, if you grew up or your exposure to American football during the 80s, which, it was watching Michael Irvin and Jerry Rice and the 49ers and all these teams.
Yeah.
They did throw it across the middle a lot more back then.
Oh, yeah.
If you remember correctly. Yeah. I mean, now it's like to throw it across the middle.
You made a name for yourself as a wide receiver was getting blown up by a safety and losing your head.
You're like tight end delay or crossing patterns or picking them. I mean, there's no like one, just boom. And he's like, huh. So Steven says, they do let colorblind referees games. Well, that's why they wear black and white. So anyway, Bobby mentions the Twin Peaks service and scenery at the one in Greenville was awful. Whenever the Clemson game this year, god awful. Yeah, and that Twin Peaks is right around the corner from this strip club that used to be. I have no knowledge of its existence, by the way. I've just heard about it. This is my wife's listening.
They turned it into a church. Irony of ironies.
No, Platinum or Lust.
Oh, okay. Well, one of them, Platinum is a church.
Lust is kind of near Twin Peaks. I'm sure they came and did some recruiting. I got to stop with this.
That's right.
I just need to shut up. So anyway,
portal work.
I just talk about the transfer portal again. Anyway, Bobby, God bless you for going into that Twin Peaks. My brother loved to go there, but anyway, back on topic. Yeah. So anyway, I don't know how we got here, but it is hour number 2. So I want to point this out. So the AP came out with their final rankings, which mean absolutely nothing. I don't know, man. I mean, the school and Steve Fink and all that, they were putting it out because it is a data point, right? So and by the way, for Ward Manual, these are data points. These are data points. Data points are not. I mean, football's the way you pick football teams. These are not the types of data points you need to use. But it's a good marketing thing, obviously. And I talked earlier today about the need for recruiting and why offseason hype helps that part. But it's a double-edged sword. So the Gamecocks finished 19th in the AP poll, and it's the second time in 3 years they've finished ranked in the top 25. It's the highest they've been ranked at the end over a decade, since 13 when they finished 4th.
Right.
I think this team is better than the 19th ranked team in the country, though, and it clearly proved it the whole freaking season. And I look at somebody like Brett McMurphy's. Brett McMurphy, best reporter out there. His opinions on football are highly biased. They make no sense. I know he's an Oklahoma State and Big 12 fan and hates the SEC, but I don't know. Yeah, some of these people that vote are just either clueless or biased. I don't even know why they put out a final one, but apparently, all of us that understand all this stuff know that, well, there's opt-outs in the bowl game. There's delays. You can't really go, but not the dang AP boy. Ooh, no.
Nope.
That bowl matters a ton to them. Yeah. Ole Miss moved up 5 spots for beating Duke. I mean, Illinois finished 16th, moved up 5 spots for beating the Gamecocks. Bama dropped 6 spots for losing to Michigan. Gamecocks dropped 5 spots for losing to Illinois.
Yeah. Clemson extended their lead over, Carolina in the 8th.
Yeah, Clemson's 14th.
Yeah.
They only dropped 2 spots for, losing to Texas. Ole Miss 5 spots. I can't believe Tennessee dropped 2 spots. I mean, this is a load of crap. I mean,
but what's funny, Clemson and SMU met on a neutral field, and there is a data point of who won that game, and SMU still ranked on top
and moved up a spot.
Yeah.
We love SMU at the Associated. BYU moves up 4 spots for beating Colorado. Colorado drops 5. Brett McMurphy had UNLV ranked above Carolina by 6 spots.
Wow.
Look, man, I love UNLV. It's a great story. Good football team. That's a load of, use your brain.
I know.
Nevertheless, it's a good thing to talk about it. But I think the AP poll is voted on largely by people that are the reason why the quote unquote traditional media and our, including sports, is just out the window. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares what you think. Let's quit acting like it. Nobody cares. How about no?
The Cleveland Plain Dealer. This is
that guy's
my
a
vote
moron.
Counts. Yeah,
that guy's a freaking imbecile. Well, anyway, I hope Ohio State won though. So, maybe he's happy. All right. So, so that's the ranking. And it's good to be ranked finally, because you can say we finished the season ranked and all that good stuff. I do think that the Gamecocks were better than 19th. And a loss to Illinois in a bowl game where you're missing players, they're missing players, you're probably not going to you're not going to put a lot of stock in that one way or the other.
And
amazingly enough,
rankings, though, I was going to say is like even more importantly is going to be that preseason rank, because you literally where you're seated there at the beginning of the year is you got to lose it. It's like it's given to you until you lose it. So it's harder to work your way into the poll than it is to work your way out of it. And if we're going to maintain the lazy media in the off season, lazy narratives through the season, and lazy application of data points for postseason consideration, then hey, put me on the list.
Yeah, I'm not complaining about Carolina being right. I'm just saying that the people, I don't understand half of these polls and what the thought process is. I think sometimes, media people, they kind of get, I don't know why that industry is arrogant. I'm like, you're nobody really reads you anymore, and you don't really make much money. And I don't understand where the arrogance comes from. Maybe it's because, somebody somewhere told you that your job's not to report facts, but it's to drive your own justice narrative and right wrongs in the world. And you think you're a hero, which is a lie. Maybe that's where the arrogance comes from. But I think some of these folks, they get behind a team and they pick them and they're good. And they got their picks, we're picking this or picking that. Well, and then, they lost. So they disappointed me. I'm going to drop them in my poll. Right. I'm going to drop you in my poll.
Well, and then you got the other side of that. It was like, well, I mean, I know they lost, but they fought hard, and this happened because I don't want to look stupid for picking them high.
Yeah, it's crazy. But speaking of preseason, I talked about this on coffee earlier today. Bobby says non-garnet glass is probably 14th or 15th. That's what I expected. Top 15.
Yeah.
I thought top 15 at the end of the day. You can't just leave them up there and not count Illinois. If you're going to count it for everybody else, the bowl, you got to count it for the Gamecocks. But that dramatic of a drop, considering who they dropped them behind, I mean, they dropped them behind Miami. So Miami loses to Iowa State. I guess Miami's record's prettier, and that's why I don't.
It is. There's only a 3 in that final column, so therefore, better team.
Yeah, McMurphy had Missouri ahead of Carolina too. Of course, the Tigers finished 22nd, so I don't know. But anyway, so another set of rankings is meaningless. But that I was talking about earlier, Mark Schlabach, we were kind of looking forward to this. We talked about it on the other edition of the show. Where will Carolina be ranked when they come out with the way too early list? ESPN, I'm not going to say they're some standard bearer and that they're always accurate, because nobody really is this early. I do appreciate the way they do it. They're not just throwing teams up there and then dropping a team 7 spots in April because they changed their mind. We made a mistake, caught a lot of crap for this ranking. We're going to drop them 7 spots just because of the feedback. But they have it ready to go right after the season ends. It's always a good read, because that college football traffic blowtorch on your website is going to be put out for a while,
Yeah.
And so you want to kind of keep people engaged till the bitter end. And that includes getting people excited about next year. So they put it out, and Carolina's 10th. Mark Schlabach had them 10th. And he went through and talked about all the losses and talked about how some people that will help, and basically said if Lenora Sellers can improve, and Lenore's isn't a finished product by any means.
No.
That the Gamecocks could be even more of a surprise after this next in 2025. So how about that?
Yeah, I like that. I don't know. Top 10 is kind of crazy, but hey, I'll take it.
Hey, they yeah, he went through it, and amazing. You know, I was like, wow, that's kind of crazy. I was like, way too, you know, but I've always liked their way too early top 25. I'm pulling it up right now just to kind of see.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do the same. But they got it.
Bobby, were you saying that Carolina was 11th? They were 10th first thing this morning on Schlabach's list. So I'm fact checking myself, man.
Oh my goodness, it's nothing but Ohio State and Notre Dame.
I know. Anyway, you look for it, Phil, and
I'll try to figure it out here. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think that. Bobby said 11th. That's his thought. I think so. And look, here's the thing that's going to happen. This is going to be the most hyped off season for Carolina football since between 2013 and 2014, as far as what's kind of the narrative about how good the team can be from external folks, right?
Yeah.
What you know, back that year, I'll tell you, I got excited about it because eventually I was just like, hell, you tell me. I mean, I thought the day Carolina lost to Georgia in 2013 and the defense looked bad. It was a kind of a shootout game, but you know, Spurrier got on to somebody, Deke Adams or somebody, about Clowney dropping into coverage. Deke Adams and Kirk Bakken almost got in a fight on the sidelines. These were all a lot of new coaches that Lorenzo Ward had hired to replace some good coaches that had left. It was a disaster, right? And I sat on the Big Spur and I got lit on fire. that look, this defense is not good, and next season could be the worst defense in the history of the program because there's nobody behind a lot of these guys. Time passed. Carolina wins 11 games, gets in the national championship hunt, the race for Atlanta. A good year. Connor Shaw senior year, they go undefeated at home. Got some big wins at Missouri. Beat UCF, not the national championship UCF. The first. There've been three really good UCF teams. I think George O'Leary was still the coach at UCF at this point. The Blake Bortles team. Yeah. You know, and finished 11-2, beat Wisconsin. You know, they were a loss at Tennessee. It was kind of an upset deal away from really doing something special that year. So, you know, who am I to question? Spurrier of the offseason. Well, Coach Ward tells me that the defense is actually going to be better this year than last year. And I'm like, well, Kelsey Quarles and Vic Hampton walked out the door. They had no business going pro. But those good players that could help, they're gone. I don't know who's going to play D tackle besides JT Surratt. You lost Clowney. You don't really have a lot of ends at all. Well, we're going to go this 3-man front, showcase Sherrod Golightly. You know, I'm like, okay, well, who's going to start in the secondary? And so then they trot out this defense against A&M, Phil. It's Thursday night. Brent Musburger's in town. Gamecocks are 9th in the country. Everybody at Media Days picked them to win the East. Kenny Chesney did a movie in the offseason about Steve Spurrier.
This was the first season of the SEC Network.
Greg
yeah.
McElroy picked him to go to the playoff. That was the first ever playoff. It's Dylan Thompson's show. They were loaded at receiver, and really that offense was loaded.
Yeah.
Really good offense. But that defense, brother. And the crazy thing about it, like Kenny Hill threw for 700 yards or something that night. Right. They won 52-28, 52-28, just could not keep up with them. And he ended up not even being that good.
No, looked like an NFL MVP on the opening game. It turned out to be crap.
And then they beat some crappy team, and then they played SMU, and that's before, SMU obviously now is a national power. But that's before they were that good. I think June Jones was still coaching there. They beat them 73-7, and everybody's like Kenny Thrill, Heisman. And then the bottom fell out. Everybody's like, well, gosh, I guess he's not that good anyway.
Right.
As the season goes on, Carolina, because that was one of the years. I don't always agree with Mike Morgan when he blanketly says the East was down when Carolina was winning those games. It was some years for sure. Some years, though, it was tough. Like 2012, there were 3 top 10 teams in the same division. But so it was kind of year to year. But I'm right there. 2014 was a horrible year in the SEC East. Missouri won it for the second straight year. Missouri wasn't even halfway good.
No.
But Carolina had game day comes to town. See, everybody bought it too, Phil. That's the thing. Vegas had that Carolina team as an 11.5-point favorite against A&M in the opener.
Yeah, that made no sense because the people who pay attention to things like that should have seen that, oh, man, this
nobody
team
even looked at the defensive depth chart.
And like, talent. Right.
They're like, we love Steve Spurrier. He'll win. And look, that till that point, once Spurrier got Florida rolling, he never – I think they may have had a year they won 9 or 10, but they were always really good. So I guess people, well, Steve Spurrier, man. Kenny Chesney made a movie about him. Shoot, yeah, that's right. Coach Ward tells me the defense is going to be just as good. So,
but you gotta wonder though, like back because Steve's in there just lighting them up in practice, right? Just completely blowing the doors off of this defense. You think he'd have come out there and tempered the expectations a little bit. Well, we got to do this and we got to do that. Nah. Well, Ward says they're good.
Well, they went
and they were not
terrible. I mean, East Carolina came in the next week and the Gamecocks beat them 33-23. Lincoln Riley was calling plays for ECU, and I actually was somewhat surprised Carolina won that game. Then they beat Georgia.
Right.
And then game day came for Missouri, and that's the first of 3 games they blew double-digit leads in the fourth quarter. And if they had not blown those leads, Phil, that team that did lose to A&M that bad would have won the SEC East that year and gotten the bejesus beat out of them by the University of Alabama.
And they would have gotten killed by that Alabama team.
So, anyway. All right, we've got half hour left to go. Inside the Gamecocks show. Let's talk a little basketball when we get back for a little bit.
Oh, do we have to?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Nana's Porch chat box if you have any basketball questions to it. And I'll go back and get some of these football stuff. But, yeah, Gamecocks in the top 10 with Mark Schleybaugh.
Yeah, it is 10. Yeah, I got it pulled up here. Yeah, they are number 10.
They got 2 teams on the schedule, 3 teams on the schedule, I think. Clemson and LSU are ranked ahead of them. I think that may be the only 2. There's other ranked teams, but they're below the game. Alabama's 12th. I know.
Bama 12.
Ole Miss is 25th. A&M's in the bottom of the 25. Missouri's not ranked. I don't know that I wouldn't rank those guys. I mean, I don't sleep on Missouri, man. Anyway.
Yeah. He's like a little engine that could up there.
Chugga. We'll be right back to wrap it up on a Tuesday inside the Gamecocks show.
The Aventon Adventure 2 takes the same basic design as the original Aventon Adventure, making it an adventure bike designed to take you places that typical roads just don't reach, allowing you to ride whatever terrain you want based on your whims of the day. Look at what you're getting. Hydraulic disc brakes, torque sensor for responsive pedal assist, great LED lighting, suspension, a beautifully welded frame with excellent build quality, included rear rack, included fenders. The list just keeps going on.
Visit electricbikescharleston.com for more.
When you bundle home and auto, good things can happen. You get a local agent who can help you choose the right coverage for you at a price that's right for you.
Call State Farm agent Tony Pope today.
Hey Gamecock Nation, my name is Kyle, longtime listener of the show and avid golfer. I wanted to take my game to the next level, but let's face it, golf is a hard game to learn on your own. I heard the ad from McKellar Enterprises and reached out to the owner and former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor. In just 2 months of working with Meredith, I shot my lowest round ever, and I've never felt more confident in my golf game. So if you're looking to take your game to the next level, go to McKellarEnterprises.org and book your lesson today with former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor. Go Gamecocks.
Think about that old ride of yours. The carpools, the road trips, the heavy hauls, date nights, and the dings and the dents and the sticky spills and cracker crumbs, and that smell that really never goes away. Do you really want to start the new year in the same old ride? Or is it time for a fresh start? Now's the time for incredible New Year's savings at Love Chevrolet on the entire lineup of award-winning vehicles. Love has more new Chevys on the lot than any other dealer in the Midlands, in the color, style, features you've been looking for. With New Year's savings and Love's famous low price guarantee, your new ride in 25 will be invigorating, exhilarating, and affordable too. South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer, I-26 at Harbison, and online at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
That's the power of love. Love Chevy.
When you bundle home and auto, good things can happen. You get a local agent who can help you choose the right coverage for you at a price that's right for you.
Call State Farm agent Tony Pope today.
One brand. 2 shows. The morning show. Weekdays from 10 a.m. until noon. And the show from noon until 2 p.m. Go Gamecocks!
Welcome back, everybody, inside the Gamecocks of the show. JC Shurburtt and, of course, myself, Phil Mullinax, here with you. Time to tee it up, talk some hoops. Florida comes to town tomorrow at the Colonial Life Arena. Sorry, what is it? 7 o'clock tip. Blackout is what they're requesting. Everybody, it'd be great to fill up the CLA. I know with an 0-5 record to start the conference season, the men's team is still trying to search for some answers in the face of a couple of starting player injuries. But hey, nobody said it was going to be easy heading into the season. We all knew that the road through the SEC was going to be one fraught with perils. And unfortunately, we have yet to overcome them. And on another side of it, they seem to be having a hard time getting out of their own way with the turnovers and the sloppy play and things like that. Things you can control, right? Or at least should be able to control better than what you've done so far.
I think John Whittle on the BigSpur.com has had 2 very interesting things. One sort of an opinion. The other one was a good take that he had in the VIP room, where he basically said the feeling around the program is, they should have won the last 3. It sounds weird to say because they lost by 20 to Oklahoma. That was a game they had their chances to have momentum, and you can't play like that down the stretch and go cold. I mean, the fact this team goes cold for long stretches has got to be kind of baked into the cake at this point. I mean, it's kind of been that way. And it's that way for a lot of teams. I mean, Auburn, pretty good offensive basketball team. I mean, that score in Columbia was like 64-63 for like 4 minutes.
I know.
Sometimes teams go cold. It's baked into the cake. But I agree. I mean, I thought in all 3 games they matched up better than maybe against Alabama, Auburn, and Mississippi State. But you didn't do the things you need to do to win. You're 0-5. So what do you do? I don't know. Whittle's take on the show, the morning show yesterday, I thought was spot on. You look at this team, and if you're looking for hope or good news, you have some young guys, Morris Ugasuk, who honestly should be like a role player right now.
Right.
But he's good. and he's making things happen. But let's be honest, it would be nice not for him to be a role player right now in his sophomore year, because he's still got a ways to go. He'll end up being fine, but his progression is one of those that's probably linear. And then Arden Conyers has come in and done the things he needs to do, and obviously he's getting better at practice, scoring and things like that. Is he an All-American type? No, but it's a promising start for a guy that's never played and redshirted last year, and that didn't have the luxury of seeing a bunch of minutes in the non-conference. I mean, he's getting thrown to the wolves against top 25 teams with talent. So that's the good news. But Whittle pointed out, and he's right, the bad news is you have a lot of older guys who not only have not gotten better, but are not playing at the level they played at last year. And that was never expected. I'm stunned Zach Davis is lost at times and is not doing even the things he did well last year. I think there may have been almost too much. Sometimes players, they're like, okay, I'm going to work on my shot and get better and all that. And they put a lot of emphasis on the weakness of their game. And then the strength of their game goes to crap.
Right.
And I'm not saying Zach's gone to crap. He's had some good games. He's just inconsistent. Whereas last year, inconsistent shooter. What was the biggest complaint about Zach Davis anybody had last year? Stop shooting so many threes at times.
Chucking it up, right. Yeah.
In most games, though, he'd throw up about 3 or 4 and miss them, and then eventually he'd hit one, and everybody's fine. I mean, that was the biggest complaint. The guy played his butt off. He was a big part of that team.
Mm-hmm.
This year, my goodness.
Well, I mean, even the offensive side of that, notwithstanding, JC, I mean, remember last year, it was like, he would chuck up some ill-advised threes and just do it and kind of screw up the flow of the offense, but he was solid lockdown defensively.
Defensively, he rebounded. And then like the whole thing last year, his problem was don't shoot from the outside. And in the games that he would like take it to the hole, he would score. That was his thing. He's not even doing that at a high level. And I'm not sitting there blaming him. I'm saying this happens to players sometimes. I'm kind of looking for solutions as to why there's been a fall off. Jacoby Wright, I didn't expect Jacoby to make some big jump. And I mentioned earlier when he's hitting a bunch of threes, maybe he could be a Michael Boynton type. I didn't expect that though. I expected him to be kind of in the same role that he was in last year, which is a good player. There's nothing wrong with him. He needs to be on the team. He's not a wasted scholarship like people say. Oh, they're wild guys. But when you depend on a guy like that to be like your front line, and then he's not, he's taking a step back or regressed or he's in a slump, which is probably what a lot of it is. That's less than ideal.
Right. Yeah.
And Whittle mentioned that. He mentioned Nick Pringle a little bit too, that Nick really hadn't done what they thought. So when you start thinking about it, Phil, if you're a coach, if you're Lamont Paris, you're going into a season. Here are things. Coaches are not Nostradamus. They can't predict the human element of it. And, sometimes players regress or go sideways or say the same and you expect them to make a leap. That's in every sport, by the way. Nobody saw Zach Davis regressing coming. They thought what they thought was he would take a next step and be a double-digit player, scorer, and be their dude on defense and be a huge, valuable part of this team.
Right.
Instead, he's kind of in the wilderness. Jacoby Wright, I don't think you can see an in-season slump coming from anybody. And it's not like he was lighting it up, Phil. He's just doing things that are very un-Jacoby Wright right now with turnovers. Maybe there's too much pressure on it. They expected that Nick Pringle would take a step. He's not even really the same. I mean, they don't know that he's even playing at the level he played at Bama last year. They expected him to get better. I think Colin Murray Boyles has gotten better. But when you're the only guy,
right,
and everybody knows
so much. Yeah.
and you get in foul trouble, that's it. You know, basketball, if you have one guy, and he's a post player, and in this league where they love to call fouls, or sometimes, you know, the one ref likes to just blow his whistle. Pat, what's his name? Just likes to blow his whistle and then decide. Pat Adams, and he you know, one of the reporters told us that he likes to blow his whistle and then decide what to call. So so there's that with your post guys. Everybody would have been pretty mad had they passed on Cam Scott and said, nah, we're going to go get a lower level point guard out of the portal.
Yeah, right.
Nobody would have liked that at all. And then let Cam Scott just go to Texas. Nobody saw his deal coming either. They thought he would be a starter. So I just listed 4 guys that aren't what they thought. And then, and that's in basketball, that's of the guys that play all the time or that see minutes, that's half of them. That's half the dudes. Because you really play 8, 9, maybe 10. Some teams play 11. 8's ideal in most close games. So there's that. Then, so Ugasuk and Conyers are now, because of the improvement they have made, which is positive, among your best. You know, I'm not going to sit here and talk about Jordan Butler. I don't know what the expectation with some people out there were that he would come in and be banging the boards and stuff like that. He's a 7 foot stretch guy and always has been and always will be. And they got to get him to the point where he can do that. Period. That's it. Just because he came in from the transfer portal, just like in football, that doesn't mean they're expecting him to start or play a bunch of minutes. I'm fine with where he's at. Maybe I wish sometimes they'd bring him in, screen for him, let him hit a couple threes, sit him back on the bench. I don't know. You know, I'm just looking for answers. So you got
there was a period at the end of that Oklahoma game where it's like you start seeing other guys come in, and I was like, you know, yeah, okay, good, yeah, but maybe they get more minutes next time.
Maybe so.
Yeah, maybe they get more practice and then get more minutes. You know?
And look, Bozeman's Verdonk, everybody complains about him, and yeah, it drives me crazy when dude expends so much effort getting an offensive rebound and muscles like 3 guys out of the way because with his hulkiness, and then immediately tries to dribble or go low, and they swipe it out of his hands.
I know. I know.
I mean, dude, it's a natural instinct to do it, to not hold your hands over your head because we're human, right? We don't walk around that way,
right?
With our hands in the air, like you just don't care,
waving around.
I mean, come on, and it's like I get it. It's not natural, but my God, you just wasted all this energy. You know, he plays as hard as anybody, man.
He does. He goes out there. He is max effort, dude. Like I love it.
Yeah. And in an ideal situation, because now he's having to play a lot because teams are going right after the forwards because they know if they get Pringle and Murray Boyles in foul trouble, that's it.
Yep.
You're over. That's it. So he's having to play Bozeman's Verdonk more than they expected. He's basically a 5 foul guy. You know, you put him in, he gets to eat up 5 fouls. And then you get him into like rough he's like the enforcer in hockey. You know, just get him in there to start some shit and move on, you know.
And you know what? And maybe his role needs to increase more into that, you know, like, hey, use what you got. Like this guy is willing to go in there and bang, you know, like old school.
Look, dude, I'm all for that. But he's shooting like 30% from 1 to 2 feet and in all time.
You can't miss a bunny.
And bless his heart, dude. I love that style of player.
Right.
Yours truly was a little bit that way. And a couple teams I was on, physical basketball player. I think I probably missed my share too. But I'm J.C. Shurburtt, not a lawyer, and that's playing SEC basketball.
Not a scholarship
and I'm
athlete
definitely
with
not in that
CPA
good of
name.
shape. I'm definitely not in that good of shape. That dude looks like a college referee. He looks like he spends so much college football ref, those guys. Me and Mike and I on JC and Morgan have that theory. Like, what's up with these buff refs, man? It's like, bro, making gains. They got a bench press on the sidelines because they're on TV. The Queen of the Cock says not a lawyer. Oh, I'm not a lawyer. Yeah.
No.
BB, he is. I think he's got his law degree.
Is he in law or is he in accounting?
Law. Pretty sure it's law.
All right.
Because it's rare. Because business degrees pretty common for students. Law, like actual freaking law school, not that common for a major basketball player. But yeah, so everybody's role, because you have other guys that aren't as good and I don't want to say disappointing. Well, I'll call them disappointing at the end of the year, but who haven't been what they thought. And then there's Thomas, and one of the good things is Jamari Thomas could be back pretty soon. It was 3 to 4 weeks, but it may be Saturday.
Yeah,
curious to see how that works out. I think the thought was he's really good, and he is good. He's a good basketball player. In a different system, he'd be really, fine. But this whole slowing it down, making the extra pass, that's just not something he's proven to be able to do.
Right.
And if you get in a track meet or a up and down game with some of these teams in the SEC right now, they're too good. I mean, Kentucky and Alabama, Kentucky and Florida. I mean, you get into an up and down game with those guys, you're dead. If you're South Carolina, if you'd done it against Auburn, you'd have been done. But Auburn was the game where they passed it around. This team last year made extra passes and stuff like that. That really has little to do with Talon Cooper being ultra talented so much as it has to do with his knack for kind of being contagious with that extra pass stuff. It's like last year, the guys sort of took pride in making that extra pass, right?
Yeah.
Even Michie Johnson, who was basically a scorer. He loved making that extra pass, and it worked out for them. Their guys wide open, work, boom, 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 bang. Boom, boom, bang. Mm-hmm. Now it's like boom, bang, clunk, clunk. And it sounds like, and I don't want anybody to think I'm making fun of the team. I'm not. I'm trying to be a little bit creative with how I describe it to keep from crying. Or to keep from, it being boring, because the season's circling the drain right now. And
right.
And look, not going to call anybody out, not going to cast something like this happens and it ends up being really bad. There's plenty of blame to go around for everybody. Then the solution is, the question is, what's the solution? Well, the solution is fix everything. So
everything.
it may be that South Carolina blows this Lamont Paris blows the roster up and starts over. Which in basketball, coaches can do that during a tenure 3 or 4 times. These days,
right?
I know everybody got mad at Frank for doing it. Frank was after his time and before his time in a lot of ways. Now, back then, it's like, there were 6 newcomers on the Final Four team for the previous, they lost 6, or what, they lose 6 players from the team before. And everybody got mad. Oh, he's got all these transfers, people coming in and out, blah, 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 blah. And now it's pretty common.
Yeah, right. Oh, look at all the new faces.
He was downright a master of limiting attrition when he was here.
Yeah.
So, it's just one of those things. So, I don't know if this team is capable of climbing out of any kind of, I think best case scenario, what everybody's just hoped for is go and try your best. ASO soccer, try your best. That phase 1 of ASO soccer is try your best.
Right.
And then phase 2 of ASO soccer at some point if the season's completely lost, everybody plays.
Everybody gets to play.
Maybe not everybody, but maybe you do see Cam Scott just stay on the court and struggle, stay on the struggle bus and get through the, stay on the, work through it, work it out.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's still early. You're only 5 games in, so there's no reason you're not going to throw the season out, right? I mean, obviously with each loss, postseason gets farther and farther out of reach, but you still can't just throw the towel in on the season, right? I mean, this team has talent, so just got to get it to coalesce.
Yeah, I think they are at a talent disadvantage, but they were at a talent disadvantage in most of the games they played last year.
Right.
I mean, just if you're talking talent, Arkansas is 0-5, by the way, and probably the most talented team in the SEC. And just if you're talking future NBA guys with skill, all that. So it takes a little more than that. But are they capable of winning some games? I do think they're capable. Florida's awfully good. Mississippi State, they've already played. You saw how good they were. Both are at home. There's a blackout for the Gators on Wednesday. Mike Morgan's calling the game. And then Saturday, it's after the ball game at Thirsty Fellow. If you're a Garnet Trust member, you can go meet the freshmen and newcomers for football and the portal newcomers for football face-to-face. They're introducing them, is my understanding, at the game.
Oh, nice.
I think there may be a Gamecock Club meet and greet thing there too. So there's football reasons to go to the basketball game Saturday, but we'll see kind of what happens. So it's a nice week. And then with women's basketball, of course, it's a huge week, Phil, because College game day is coming Thursday, and everybody's favorite fashionista, Kim Mulkey.
That's right. Dust off your sequins and glitter, folks.
What's everybody
hide your Muppets.
What's everybody think of Kim Mulkey in the chat box? Anybody got any strong opinions?
I don't know. I haven't seen Kim's outfits this far this year. I haven't been paying attention to LSU women's basketball, but I guess know I'll be watching Thursday.
I guess there's some coaches that have had babies. Okay, so they've had babies, and so she's bringing them gifts. I don't know.
The babies? What?
Yeah,
I don't follow you.
No. Like, so, all right. Assistant coaches on other teams have been having children. So she's bringing baby gifts for those opposing. It's been. I don't know,
what
man.
Is this like to soften her image? Is that what we're going for here?
Probably so.
Like
Elder Llama says, "Queen of the lot lizards." One of the beautiful things about Cornbread Cowboy and his work is that I've re-familiarized myself with the term lot lizard and all that it is.
Right.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. There are so many stories you could make or come up with about lot lizard society, and it's just I love it. Tiffany says she looks like a woman they interview after the tornado at the trailer park. Wonder where her casserole dish is. Where's my casserole? Where's my casserole dish? Man, I think casserole, Tiffany, just to be honest, a little too fancy for some of these places. I mean, what kind of casserole are we talking about?
That's right. Well,
hamburger helper a casserole?
Yeah, right.
And I love hamburger helper. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, no, same. Yeah, no.
Probably shouldn't eat it, but it's pretty damn good. I'm not knocking it, but what kind? I mean, I just don't know that some of the folks I've known through the years that I don't know that they're in there going, "What's my casserole dish?" It's probably like, "Where's my spittoon?" Or "Where's that frying pan I hit my husband with?" "Where's my gun?"
Yeah, that's right.
Tiffany says the dish from the 1970s, the yellow one with the floral pattern. Oh yeah, I know that casserole dish.
Right. That was my good corn and ware.
No, that's probably where it's probably you probably find it, about 500 yards away that the Twisters got is still intact because, quite frankly, Tiffany mentions it was made in the 40s. They don't make stuff like that anymore.
No.
I mean, I don't know if you've seen the meme on the internet where the modern refrigerator breaks down and you got this old fridge from the 70s. Like, I am 30 years old. I am immortal. I am time itself. It's out in the garage and it's still working like
And
a
it's
champ.
still kicking. Yeah,
You're
that's right.
forking out your computer chip in your damn refrigerator. I'm like, the computer chip?
Yeah.
What? It doesn't talk to me. Oh, well, it has a Bluetooth, sir. Why would I? And then I start thinking about the various ways maybe I could use the refrigerator through Bluetooth.
Yeah.
But I'm like, but I don't have to physically be there to take things out or put things in. It's not like you can get it to take something out of the freezer and defrost it or anything.
Yeah, I don't get the Wi-Fi connection.
Why would you connect your refrigerator to Wi-Fi? And Elder read my mind, Elder Llama. You read my mind, brother, because they find it 500 yards away intact, and it's done turned into an ashtray. It's full of Marlboro butts.
That's right.
Not the white ones.
No,
that brown color.
No,
she's
that one
smoking
smokes reds.
Reds or probably Winston's. Misties.
He's here with one of those skinny little 120s.
Yeah, I quit smoking and I just want to do this. Brian Reagan, this refrigerator keeps your meats cold for $300. This refrigerator keeps your meats cold for $1,400. We spent all this money on this refrigerator here because ours went out a while back. That was a disaster. It went out in the summer. And all I wanted was the water, right? Because I like cold water.
Right in the door. Right.
In the door.
Yeah.
It doesn't put out cold water. It's cold,
but
you got to put ice in it to really get it to my comfort level. Like when my mom and dad had that when I was a kid, that water was frigid. It was Arctic.
Come out frozen.
It's like getting it out of Lake Superior in January.
It's like
that refreshing.
Be on the move or it would freeze.
Man, if I wanted to just use ice all the time when I drink water, I would have just kept the sink and saved the money. And there's no way to adjust it.
No. Oh, like we bought a washer, last washer and dryer we bought, we still own it. And they were like, well, it comes with this Wi-Fi package. I'm like, what, we got add-ons for my damn laundry now? Well, you can start it before you get home and it will be done when you get home. I was like, I just start it before I leave.
Again,
done when I get home.
Does the damn thing take it out? They're not they're not solving problems. They're making money. They're like everything else in this country right now. They're not solving problems. They're just wanting to make money, feeding you bullcrap, right? Because if somebody want to make money, you get a washer and dryer that said, okay, well, what happens is you use your Bluetooth and you say drop the wash into the dryer and then the lid closes and it dries it for you when you get home and you have nice fresh clothes. I don't give a
they do have washer dryer combos now. But then the other side of me was like, that's way too many moving pieces. Something's going to break and it's going to be like BMW maintenance to fix that thing, right? It was like, you might as well just go buy you a Mercedes, either that or mail me $100, once a week.
That's crazy, man. It's crazy. By the way, Shane Beamer's in the upstate recruiting today. Went to see Contavious Anderson at Dorman. My understanding he's going to go by to see Jalen McGill, the running back up there. So he's in my neck of the woods. Spartanburg County. Torian Gray up there with him as well. So stay tuned to thebigspur.com for anything like that. I'll be back with coffee in the morning. Got to talk the next player on my little player thing unless some news comes up. And then they'll have Inside the Gamecocks, the morning show. I think I'm on the morning show for a little while with JB tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then Phil and I will be along with our couple of hours here on a Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us. Phil, take us home.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, we got that. I'm trying to think who else was coming up tomorrow, but Yeah, it's just you on the morning show as of right now. Matt, I think, is also going to be there. A lot of hoops tomorrow, I think, coming up, leading into the Florida game. So, yeah.
The late night. Oh, I forgot to mention the late night Gamecock show. I'm pretty sure them and the walkthrough are tonight. Tuesdays are a big day here on Chief Sports South Carolina.
Plenty of live programming.
Plenty of live programming for you.
Yeah. Looking ahead, we've got Ashley, I can't remember her
Chastain.
Yeah, it's not Chastain anymore. She got married, right?
Did they change it? Or is she still Ashley Chastain? I thought she was still Ashley Chastain. Professor.
It may still be. I'm not sure if we've changed anything.
Well, I'll call her whatever she wants. But
that's right. Yeah.
The softball
coach is who we're talking about. And she will be live with JB on Thursday to review the preview the upcoming softball team. She's pretty fired up. So we're ready to hear that. But everybody, have you a good night tonight. Enjoy,
enjoy the first day.
Have to fret. Yeah,
we're on a long journey. It's the first day without college football until August.
Time to power through. Don't worry, spring ball will be here quicker than we know it.
And tail onto our conversation about basketball. Baseball will be here soon. All right,
let's get out of here.
Get us out of here, Phil.
Yeah, man.